Writers use literary techniques to make their ideas more vivid, powerful, and memorable. As GCSE students, it is important that you learn these techniques because they will help you in both reading and writing tasks. In reading exams, you need to recognize techniques and explain why a writer has used them. For example, if a writer says, "The wind screamed through the trees," they are using personification. This helps create a frightening and dramatic atmosphere, and you would need to explain this effect in your answer. In writing tasks, you can use literary techniques to make your own description more interesting and creative. For example, instead of writing "the forest was scary," you could write "the dark forest swallowed the light," which uses personification and imagery to make the description more powerful. By learning literary techniques, you will be able to understand texts more deeply, improve your vocabulary, and gain more marks in your GCSE exams. Throughout this course, you will practice identifying techniques, analyzing their effects, and using them in your own writing. Figurative language is when writers use imaginative and creative expressions instead of literal meaning. It helps make writing more interesting, vivid, and powerful. Writers use techniques such as similes, metaphors, and personification to create strong images and emotions in the reader's mind. For example, instead of saying "the car was fast," a writer might say "the car was as fast as lightning," which is a simile and creates a clearer image. Learning figurative language will help you both understand text in reading tasks and improve your own writing in GCSE exams. Rhetorical question. A rhetorical question is a question that is asked to make the reader think rather than to get an answer. Writers use rhetorical questions to engage the reader and make their ideas more powerful or persuasive. For example, a writer might say, "How could anyone ignore such danger?" This makes the reader stop and think about the situation. Rhetorical questions are often used to create tension, emphasize a point, or influence the reader's opinion. In reading tasks, you should identify rhetorical questions and explain their effect. In writing tasks, you can use them to make your ideas more engaging and persuasive. Imagery is when writers use descriptive language to create pictures in the reader's mind. It helps the reader imagine what they can see, hear, feel, smell, or even taste. Writers use imagery to make their descriptions more vivid and engaging. For example, instead of saying "it was cold," a writer might say "the icy wind cut sharply across his frozen face." This creates a clear and powerful image for the reader. Imagery helps to build atmosphere and makes writing more interesting. In reading tasks, you should identify imagery and explain the effect it has on the reader. In writing tasks, you should try to use imagery to improve your descriptions. A simile compares one thing to another using the words like or as. Writers use similes to help the reader imagine something more clearly. For example, he ran as fast as lightning shows great speed. In your writing, try to use similes to make your descriptions more vivid. A metaphor is a literary technique that describes something by saying it is something else. Writers use metaphors to create strong and vivid images. For example, the classroom was a zoo suggests noise and chaos. In reading, you should identify metaphors and explain their effect. In writing, you can use metaphors to make your descriptions more powerful. Personification gives human actions or qualities to objects or nature. For example, the wind whispered through the trees makes the scene feel calm and mysterious. Alliteration is the repetition of the same starting sound in nearby words. For example, busy buzzing bees creates a strong catchy sound. In reading, it helps you notice sound effects and explain how they impact the reader. In writing, you can use alliteration to make your descriptions more memorable and engaging. Hyperbole is an exaggeration used to create a strong effect. For example, I have told you a million times shows frustration. In reading, it helps you recognize emphasis and strong emotions. In writing, you can use it to make your ideas more dramatic and engaging. Juxtaposition is when two opposite ideas or images are placed close together. For example, the peaceful village beside the roaring battlefield highlights a strong contrast. In reading, it helps you analyze differences and deeper meaning. In writing, you can use it to create powerful contrast and impact. An oxymoron puts two opposite words together. Writers use it to create contrast or make an idea more interesting. Now pause the video and try the questions next page. A list of three uses three similar ideas together. Writers use it to make writing more powerful and memorable. Pause the video now and try the questions. Onomatopoeia is when words imitate real sounds. For example, bang helps the reader hear the sound. In reading, it helps you identify sound effects and their impact. In writing, you can use it to make your descriptions more vivid and realistic. Pathetic fallacy is when weather or nature reflects emotions. For example, dark clouds gathered shows sadness or tension. In reading, it helps you understand mood and atmosphere. In writing, you can use it to show feelings and create powerful descriptions. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds in nearby words. For example, the light of the fire shone bright. Consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds in nearby words. For example, the clock ticked and cracked in the quiet room. In reading, these techniques help you analyze sound and mood. In writing, you can use them to make your sentences more rhythmic and engaging. Pause the video and try to identify the technique in each sentence. Think carefully about the examples you have learned. Then check your answers on the next slide.